Among the many surprising and confusing but amazing things that singers do when interpreting the cante, there is one that can really lead us astray when playing, accompanying or dancing, when they stretch the cante, when they stretch the lyrics and the melody. Hi, this is Guillermo Guillen for FlamencoMAPS. Welcome to my channel. Whether you dance, you accompany on the guitar with palmas, with cajon, if you follow this channel by now, you know that if you really want to interact with the others and improvise in flamenco, you need to have a really clear understanding and perception of what the cante is doing in real time, what the singer is doing in real time. Again, here when I say understanding the cante, I'm not referring to understanding the meaning of the lyrics, but rather the structure and the unfolding of the cante, the unfolding of a letra. And if you are a singer, you also need to know all the different possibilities that you have to interpret the cante in a real flamenco way. When a singer stretches the cante, stretches a line or a melody, holds a note or a word, a syllable longer than expected, Fatiguita la que tengo. It can become very confusing, and this is where you can get lost in the compass, lost in the letra, lost. So if you don't want this kind of disaster to happen, you need two things: know the cante, master the compass. Always the same things, right? But I told you, there is no mystery. In this video, I'll tell you what you need to be ready for it. And I'm also going to tell you one thing that most people do when learning, but that you should not do. Stretching the cante is not mandatory, it's an option. It's an expressive tool that creates and enhances the dynamic of tension resolution I talked so much about because it's so important in music in general. One of the main goals of the flamenco game, if I had to define it in 3 words, rematar when or where necessary, together. By rematar here I mean to release a tension, to conclude in a very general way, to emphasize the endings, contestar al cante at the end of a tercio, cerrar, close a compás, emphasize the end of a letra, of a step, of a falseta, of a patá, anything. So what you want is to be able to anticipate the end of each of these elements, to be able to close, to rematar together. And when we are able to do that properly, when we have rematado all together, this is when the ole arrives, when the jaleo comes spontaneously. So how do you stretch the cante? Let's take, for example, and as usual, the Happy Birthday song. And I have the lyrics here on my rubber band. I don't know if you can read them. The standard version is just happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. This is a compass, this is squared, quadrado. It means that each line is sung as expected, always covering the same number of beats or the same number of compasses. Everything is kind of symmetrical, logical, regular, no surprises. I have to make a video on cuadrar el cante because it's a very important concept. But you can also sing happy birthday to you like this if you want. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. If we imagine that the cante is on one layer and the compass is on another layer, here I stretched both layers at the same time, the cante and the underlying compass. So in the end, everything relatively is still in place. Everything is same. What used to cover one compass still covers one compass, but slowed down. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. In flamenco, most of the time, this is not what happens. When we stretch the lyrics in flamenco, we only stretch the Cante layer, not the Compass layer. We don't slow down the tempo, so the Cante starts floating over the Compass, but the Compass continues its way at the same speed. So the happy birthday song sung in a flamenco way could sound like this. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Earlier I said that you can get lost in the cante if the singer does something longer than expected. And this is exactly where the problem is, what you expect. If you expect the cante, a style or a letra to be interpreted always the same way as a song, sooner or later you'll have problems. There is no strict, definitive and unique way to sing a letra. The singers are changing the cante constantly within a framework, but they are changing it. Like everything else in flamenco, the cante is modular, the cante is flexible, the cante is stretchable. For example, this very common letra por ciento can be interpreted this way. Amparo. But also like this, with more tension, with more expectation. Or this same letra, but here por bulería. Very clear, right? So now you understand why you need these two things. Know the cante to know what to wait for, and master the compass to be able to wait for it without getting lost. As I explained in this video, the best way to know the cante and to anticipate it is to know the styles. Knowing a style means to know its melody and its possible processing, possible repetitions, the place for the respiro, all these things. When you hear a letra, if you know the style and the possible processing, then you can really understand and follow the unfolding of the letra in real time. You can anticipate, you can contestar, you can punctuate the caídas, and you can rematar at the very end of the letra. So the processing is kind of a set of possibilities that is included in the style, and each singer will choose among these possibilities. But then in addition to that comes another difficulty, the interpretation. I mean the personal interpretation, something freer, more subject to the emotion and the inspiration of the moment. All these things are not part of the style or the letra, they are part of the singer's interpretation. Stretching the lyrics is one of those things that singers do all the time. Nothing is ever completely sure with the cante. Assume nothing, listen and be ready for anything. This is where the real game begins. Be able to accompany the cante or dance to the cante in real time means all these things. Identify the style that the singer is singing. Deduce the different options of processing that can happen. Perceive, hear the interpretative modification, like the stretching of a line, and follow it while remaining a compass. Even though there are strategic places in every style where we can stretch the lyrics or the melody for more effectiveness, let's assume that it can happen anywhere, so that you'll be ready for any circumstance. Obviously, when you stretch something, it takes more space, or more compases, or even sometimes medio compases, like por bulería or por taranto. So if the singer extends a part, stretches a line, you have no other choice than following him or her, waiting for him or her. The element you'll use to emphasize the closing, whether it is a remate de guitarra, de baile, or with the palmas, the cajón, it has to be in rhythm, a compás, but it can potentially be on any compás, the compás where the singer decides to resolve. You have to hold the compass. So just listen, follow, don't panic, keep the compass alive and wait for the resolution. But there is one thing that you definitely don't want to do. When you dance or accompany a singer, if you count the compasses to know what to do, when to change the steps, the marcajes, the guitar chords, or when to rematar, I tell you right away it's not a good idea. At all. Counting the compasses is not an option, because the moment when to blow out the candle, where to react to the cante, depends on the cante, not on the number of compasses. If you dance or play on an audio track, then yes, indeed, it will work. But in the real flamenco life, we don't play and dance with audio tracks. We play and dance with real singers, and singers are not audio tracks. Singers are alive, they live the cante, they interpret the cante, and every time they can potentially do something different. And actually, this is the whole point of flamenco. In general, in flamenco, counting the compasses is not a good idea. It can help at the beginning, but it's a crutch that you need to get rid of as soon as possible. Let's see an example with a very famous letra de Soleá. A la madre de mi alma lo que la camelo yo, porque la llevo presente metida en el corazón. And we'll see two different interpretations of this letra with the same style, de Soleá de Cádiz de Enrique el Mellizo. So first, La Niña de los Peines, Pastora Pavón. In her version, it's almost automatic. We have one sung line, one tercio per compás, with a respiro of 2 compasses at the beginning of the letra. And now Tomás Pavón, he's the brother of La Niña de los Peines.
A mi madre de mi alma, lo que la camelo yo. Lo que yo quiero a mi madre, lo que la camelo yo. Porque la tengo presente, ay, metida en el corazón. A mi madre de mi alma, y lo que la carne, el odio.
Could you perceive how it stretched that line at the end? The 7th tercio covers 2 compasses instead of 1. What I love with these examples is that they belong to the same family. They perfectly know each other and the cante of each other. They sing the same style with the same lyrics, approximately, with little variations, but the interpretations are very different. Another example with a typical letra de bulería corta de Jerez.
Digo como lo siento, como mi Luisito Sambo, yo lo busco y no lo encuentro. Como mi Luisito Sambo, yo lo busco y no lo encuentro.
Here Miguel Poveda also stretches the first tercio of the repetition, and it makes it cover 1 more compás. You see, it's the same place in the letra de Soleá and the letra de Bulería. I told you about strategic places where to stretch the cante. This is one of them in this kind of letra. If you are dancing or accompanying this and you don't perceive that, then you will just miss the train, and you will probably close the letra before the cante, which we don't really want to do. My advice when you study, when you practice, when you learn flamenco is to dedicate a time to study and practice these things separately. Otherwise, it's just too overwhelming. Work on your technique, the guitar, the dance, the palmas, the cajon, so you don't have to think about it anymore. Work on your vocabulary, your dance steps, your chord progression with the guitar, your remates. All these things need to come without thinking them. Study the Cante, listen to a lot of Cante, understand how it works, understand the styles and the processing. Get your ears used to the Cante system and practice the Compass a lot so that it goes in autopilot. If you have to count or to be focused on the Compass while listening at the same time, if your Compass is not solid, is not internalized, you won't have enough mental space to decipher the Cante and react to it. I know that there are so many things, and I know that at first it's not easy, but later with practice and experience, we develop our intuition for all these things, and it really becomes a game that we are able to play all together. So, poquito a poco. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it could help. If it did, you can also help me by subscribing to the channel, liking this video, sharing it. Please also consider supporting my work on Patreon. I leave the link in the description. And as always, also go and visit flamencomaps.com, where I explain my online classes and courses and my way of teaching flamenco. I see you there. Till then, don't forget, play palmas, listen to Cante.